Hello everyone and welcome back guys to a brand new video, and today we are here having a look at the AOR Classic Christmas Cup. Now if you guys don't know what that is, basically Apex Online Racing is hosting a 5-race mini-season over the Christmas break, driving as 5 of the classic F1 cars around classic circuits. If you are interested, I will try to remember to leave a link down in the description. But today I wanted to make a little bit of a video, you know, talking about each of the cars used. Going to be driving them around the track they will be using in the real series. The Hotlaps in the background are not particularly good, you know, by any stretch of the imagination. But first of all then, we start with the McLaren MP4-6. Yep, the 1991 McLaren. Absolutely brilliant car to drive. It's quite an odd car, I'd say, on the whole, because you'd expect it to be very loose on the rear end, but then it sort of does and then sort of doesn't. It's very difficult to explain. But around this Japanese circuit, you know, probably not the best suited car track combination, because, you know, there's a lot of changing of direction around this circuit. And this car obviously being one of the oldest on this game, you know, it is very unsensitive, you know, sudden changes of, you know, direction and anything. But you can just see they're struggling to try and get the power out of the hairpin there. You know, it does sort of not grip up particularly well either, but, you know, it's still a really fun car to drive. And also, you know, for a V6, I'm pretty certain this car is still a V6. I might be wrong in saying that for all I know. I know the MP4-4, I'm pretty certain is as well there. But yeah, this car, whatever engine it's got in it, it does sound very incredible there. Coming down in towards 130R though, one of the only real sort of high-speed downforce corners around this track, and it is just about flat out in this McLaren. If you get it basically perfect, there you go, you just get about through that corner quite nicely there. Through the Casio triangle, the final couple of corners of this lap. You can see once again the car just absolutely kicking out the back end there. But that will be the McLaren round 1 of the season. I'm very much looking forward to driving all of these cars, but hopefully, you know, I can get off to a good start in this one. But then we move on into round 2, around one of my favourite circuits, and honestly one of the cars I've never really driven on this game, and that is the Williams FW18. So this car, actually, I feel isn't particularly much better than the McLaren. They drive fairly similarly. I'd say on the whole, this one's got a bit of a weird electronic dash as well that personally, you know, I'm not a massive fan of, but hey-ho, you know, nothing that's gonna lose me too much sleep over that. But yeah, this car, probably once again, you know, I personally don't feel it suits this car track combination particularly well. You know, it's a very long track, and it's not a particularly quick car on the whole. This thing as well really struggles in the high downforce corners, I've noticed. So, and it's not even particularly strong down the straights either. So this one certainly, you know, going to be a setup nightmare, you know, to try and make it work around this Belgian Grand Prix circuit. It only does what? We're looking at 185 miles an hour. Sorry, near enough 190. Sorry, down at this back straight here. So it's not the quickest car in the world. I'm pretty certain the McLaren was actually getting quicker down at Suzuka just beforehand there, which really does show how much this car does struggle there. But it's still, you know, got no groove tyres, so it does carry a little bit of a tyre grip there, albeit, you know, they're not particularly, you know, big tyres there. The engine brake does accidentally change down one too many times to just really want to kill you there. But you can just see struggling to get the car turned in through the high downforce corners there. So it does struggle, you know, a little bit here and there, you know, around this circuit. It's not the greatest car in the world, you know. I'm much prefer driving things like the F2002 and the F2004. That, you know, those two cars are two of my favourites to drive out and out in this F1 2017 game. But coming through in towards the final sector of that, you can see just this car. It doesn't like quick changes of direction as well, and obviously that's a bit of a theme with the older cars in this game. You know, obviously they haven't got anywhere near as many electronic aids there, and as you can see coming through out of Stabilo there, the car can barely take it flat out there. But yeah, as I was saying, this car, it does struggle with quick changes of direction, so it is a little bit, you know, difficult. You know, consistency will have to try and be key with, you know, some of these older cars. You know, there's not going to be, you know, too many, you know, there's going to be a lot of chances to make mistakes in these cars, so just trying to keep it on the island will probably be one of your best shots there. But through the final corner there, losing the back end ever so slightly, this car does grip up alright out of low speed there. But that is the FW18 around Spa, and now we move on to probably my favourite car track combo in this series. We have got the F2002 around Monza. Now this car track will be very fun. Probably, you know, if there's any race, you know, I want to win, this will probably be the one, and this may be the best shot of a race victory I'll have all season, depending on who does sign up to this series. But yeah, this V10 F2002, actually the quickest car out of the classics down the straight. You'd actually believe it's the F2004, but it runs that bit more downforce, means the F2002 has got about a 1 mile an hour advantage down the straights there. With its built-in traction control as well, it does mean it's quite easy to get out of the corners. So it's just going to be about trying to be as ballsy as you possibly can with this car, and that's sort of one of the things I do really like about it. You know, you've really got to try and chuck it into the corners. It wants to be, you know, pushed, as you can see, coming through the second chicane. They're attacking both curbs as much as possible there without getting the lap invalidated. Through the two Lesmos, though, it does seem to struggle just a little bit there, as you can see, but, you know, it's far, you know, it's probably, as I said, you know, my favourite car track combo on this game, so I'm really, really looking forward to this one, round 3 of the season. But yeah, this car, in terms of setup, you know, the stock setup it does actually give you is quite nice there. So you just got to try and work on getting, you know, a few more miles an hour out down the straights, and then potentially focus on some stability, you know, on the rear end. Sometimes, you know, if you apply the accelerator before the traction control kicks in, then it can sometimes just spit you around like it's F1 2016. But yeah, through the final corner we go, and that has been a lap of Italy in the F2004. Not a particularly long lap, I must admit. You can get around here in sub 1 minute 20 in this car. I think 1 minute 19s will probably be the quality time for this car around this track. But yeah, an absolutely brilliant car. Sounds absolutely fantastic. And then we move on to the, oh my goodness me, is that clock, the MP4-23 around the Brazilian Grand Prix circuit. And this car, actually I found overall to be one of the most inconsistent cars to drive on this game. And that is partly due to the fact that it has got grooved tyres, which does mean pretty certainly it is the first of the non-traction control cars, one of the only non-traction control cars ever, I think, in modern Formula 1 to not have, you know, fully flat tyres there, you know. I can't think of the 100% technical term off the top of my head, but yeah, this car, no traction control, no ABS, and groove tyres does make it a little bit of a handful. Not got very much corner speed. You know, it does seem to struggle in some of the lower speed corners where it does struggle to make itself too much grip. But this, you know, there was sort of a big focus on downforce at this point, and although, you know, McLaren obviously did a very, very good job with Lewis Hamilton, you know, obviously able to win the World Championship, you know, this car still can be very, very sensitive there. I found myself spinning this thing, you know, a couple of times during practice for the SRL Classics League as well. But down in towards the final few corners, you know, this car, once again, you'll just want to try and focus on stability. It's almost like you're going back sort of 10-15 years with this thing. It's a little bit odd, you know, the way everything is sort of, you know, all the help that the Formula 1 cars could give you, it's sort of been taken away, and it still hadn't adjusted, you know, to being able to give any sort of help to the driver there. But down towards the line, it's going to be a 1 minute 12.1, so I think 1 minute 11, so potentially a 1 minute 10 could it be snuck in quality, you know, with a very, very decent setup there. But I'm looking forward once again to this car track combo. I'm looking forward to all of them, in all honesty. We move on into the final one then, and this is the Red Bull RB6 around Abu Dhabi, obviously where Sebastian Vettel famously won his first Formula 1 world title in this car around this track. So this one, you know, there'll definitely be a few very, very quick drivers in this car. One, you know, a car that was so much corner, you can see how wide those front tyres there, and obviously with the blown diffuser that this car had in real life, you know, it was very, very quick through the corners there. Actually, you know, quicker than the F2004 around some tracks with just how much downforce that this thing was able to carry there. But through Sector 1, you can see we're, you know, very, very quick there. And now down the straights, this is where this thing really struggles. Pretty much as slow as the McLaren MP4-6. So this thing, you know, is not a particularly strong car down the straights. Doesn't have traction control once again, or ABS, but, you know, obviously does have the fully smooth tyres there, which does give it, you know, that little bit of extra grip that things like the McLaren MP4-23 really do struggle to have there. But through down onto the second back straight, this thing, yeah, as I was saying, very, very poor down the straight, so you could probably sacrifice quite a bit of downforce in this car, you know, to try and make it that bit quicker down at the straights in these races. You know, that's probably where I try and take my setups for this series. But down in towards the final sector, this is where this car really does come alive, attacking all the curbs as much as possible there. It does take the curbs quite nicely, actually. I have found, you know, it's quite smooth over them on the whole, so hopefully, you know, we can try and see, you know, some nice attacking driving in this car. But yeah, this thing, ferocious, you know, it's so quick through the corners there, you know, any sort of speed that it lacks down the straights can easily be made back up through some high downforce corners there. And down in towards the final couple of corners, you can see, you know, fourth gear there, losing the back end, somehow managed to keep the car facing the right direction there, and I do actually sit just under a 1 minute 40 there, so I'd imagine, you know, 1 minute 38 will probably be the times to beat during qualifying there. But hopefully, you know, you guys have enjoyed this video. A little bit different to, you know, the typical videos that I do make on this channel, but I'm really, really looking forward to the AOR Classic Christmas Cup. You know, really, really hoping, you know, I could try and win a couple of races. A really, really interesting format for this series as well, guys. But thank you all so much for watching. Do not forget to like and subscribe if you're new around here, and if you do want to see highlights from the AOR Classic Christmas Cup. I've also got highlights from the SRL Classics on this channel as well, you know, if you guys want to start watching classic footage nice and early. But as I said, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time for a brand new video.